What's up, people? I am back today. I'm doing something a little different. I normally don't review TV shows, but I figured since I've been watching this one, minus the well, never mind. Pretty much the last month I have been watching Buffy, so I figured, God damn it, give me a second. Sorry about that. But the last month I have been watching Buffy, and I figured because I've been watching it and talking about it with people that fuck it, I'll do a video about it since I finished it. I don't know how long this one will be, so it will probably be split into parts because whatever reason my phone cannot do anything longer than 30 minutes. But yeah, so Buffy, like it's crazy because I've always known about this show. I've a lot of some of the YouTubers I watch, like Gary and Mahler, they always talk about it. I had watched it when I was younger, but then about I guess it was close 10 years ago now, when I was with an ex, I watched Buffy then. But I didn't really remember. That was like 10 years ago. So that was forever ago. So I don't know what prompted me. Goddamn fly, sorry. I don't know what prompted me to watch it, but I just decided, like, fuck it, I'll watch it. And it is so good from the beginning. And how I'm going to do this is I'm going to go mainly by season. I can't do every episode, but I guess before I go into the season, I'm just going to go into the overall the show. You know, there's such a simple premise about, this high school girl who actually has this destiny to be a slayer, who slays vampires. And just from the beginning, it's just such a simple premise, and then you throughout season one just meet characters like Nick, Xander, Willow, Cordelia, like all these characters that, it's, and then throughout the seasons, these characters grow in attachments, and obviously more characters get added, like Oz, and then Tara later on in season 4, and then Spike in season 2, who eventually, he's my favorite character overall, but just overall, like, the growth of the show. And I think it's the natural progression of it, why it's so good. Yeah, it's a little girly at times, but I would even say it was mainly really only season 1 you see a bit of that. I think 2 and on, they definitely fixed that, because, one of the things this show did, they had no problem showing, like, especially 2 and 3, because that was mainly the season she was in high school. They had no problem showing, like, kids getting fucking killed. Like, they really had no problem with that. Like, the party in season 3, they're like, one of the fucking kids gets their fucking neck snapped. Like, they were pretty brutal in that show. And I just think, in general, like, you think it's this hokey, cheesy show, but you actually see, like, the development and how well written it is, and how just, the arcs of, like, pretty much every character goes. Even, like, side characters like Xander, he's not a fighter. He's, like, the regular guy, kind of. He gets an arc. Willow definitely does, because she starts off as, like, the shy girl, then eventually gets into magic, and then obviously what happens in season 6 with Dark Willow, and then, towards the end, and then obviously her coming out, it's stuff like, and even the way they would handle back then that stuff, Willow coming out, or you could push, like, oh, this show's not I'm not gonna say feminist, because that word's fucking ruined now. But when it actually meant something, you could maybe say that's what this show was, but they did it in a way that was done. They didn't make all men to be shitty, like how feminist shows are now, where all men are bad, women good, and they actually, all the women go through arcs. And Buffy, for example, she's not a Mary Sue. She gets her ass kicked a lot, even by, like, when she's fighting, like, sometimes a lot, especially in the earlier seasons, a lot of times the show would kick off with her fighting a vampire. That vampire would give her a fight sometimes, and there was the one time she actually lost. I think that was season 5, season 5, when she actually lost a fight, and it wasn't like to a boss or anything. It was to a regular vampire. Like, they had no problem showing like Buffy, and then also, or she would make a rash decision that potentially can get her friends in danger. That was like the quality of writing then. You know, whatever I think of Joss Whedon now, he did make magic with this show, and how it can kept going for 7 seasons. And you know, I have before I go into like, because I guess now I'm gonna get into the start of it, but overall, my favorite season is 2. I think 2, just so much happens in that season. The Jenny Callard moment, Angela, Spike's introduction, Drusilla even. I freaking love Drusilla in the show. Just all around. And I think the Scooby's dynamic by that point was just, it was on. So, but season 7 I thought was good. It has its problems, and I'll definitely be talking about that. But yeah, overall though, I think all the seasons are good in their own way. There are some seasons definitely that are better than others, but I would say overall it had a good show and it ended right. You know, that's because Joss understood, and not just him, but the people who helped him write the show. They had an end point. A lot of shows now, they just kind of drag on, and I think it was the right choice. If you have an ending, maybe just do it, because sometimes when you just keep something going, Simpsons. Look at Simpsons. That is like the perfect example why you do need an ending sometimes, and especially when you have a planned ending, it works so much better. But yeah, before I start really talking about the show, tomorrow, I normally would be doing a movie pitch because it's towards the end. It's the end of the month, or the last Monday of the month. But I couldn't think of one this month. I'm just gonna be honest. I couldn't think of one. So now I will be doing one for sure next month. I pretty much have it planned. Halloween Ends is coming out next month. I figure I'll talk about like what I would probably do with the franchise going forward. So that'll be my movie pitch, essentially, is how I would take Halloween after Ends. But tomorrow I will be reviewing a new movie I watched last week called Day Shift. It came out on Netflix. I figure because it's Jamie Foxx killing vampires. It's kind of funny things I'm talking about Buffy right now. I think I'll be talking about that because I watched. It's a really good movie, and I figure I want to try to promote good new movies out there. And I'm not going to review every new movie, but I figure like I want to promote good ones that I'm like, you know what, you probably should watch this. So I'll be reviewing that tomorrow. And yeah, but I'll get started here. So Buffy season 1 was was an interesting time because, especially at this time period in '97, normally shows always had like the 22 episode format, but season 1 of Buffy was only like 13, and yeah, it was a little. There's clunky moments, like some of the effects, and the Scoobies didn't have like quite the chemistry yet, and that was just because these characters are just getting to know each other. And Buffy, Angel was still kind of a mystery, and I think that's why it was a building season. And it did what it's supposed to. And I like the Master as a villain, and the fact they actually they essentially kill her, but it's like a fake out death, was very well done. That's when the Master was going to first appear, and he was actually well played. You know, our introduction to Giles, and I really loved those early years. You know, I like Giles in the later seasons, but I do love those early, like first 3 seasons of him just training Buffy and being her watcher. It was just very well done. I like the being in the library. It was just perfect. So I think season 1 overall is good. It is a little janky, and you know, some of the dynamic between the Scoobies wasn't fully there yet. It doesn't really get there till season 2. You know, and it was just, you didn't have Spike there yet. It was, you know, just Angel, and Angel was, I'm not gonna say boring, but it was understandable. They were keeping him a mystery, and then the way they introduced Darla, who I'll be talking about more when I talk about Angel. I'll be doing that next week. But yeah, so overall, it was a good building season. Buffy defeats the Master, her and her friends, and they kind of get established. And then we get season two. Holy shit! This season, that's why I think if you think season one is slow, just watch it. Just because I think it's worth it. It is a bit slow, season one, but it's worth getting through just so you can get to season two. Because holy shit, the show gets like that's where I think I wouldn't say peak, but it started really getting its legs. Not just Spike's introduction, but you had the Monster of the Week format very well done. It was a full 22 episode season. And I like that there wasn't like this big bad like the Master from the last season, because for like those first few episodes you don't really know who the big bad is, and then Angel and Buffy have sex for the first time, and then that moment where he slowly becomes Angelus. Because like you get little hints of it in season one, and then when you finally see him play it, and to me, David Boreanaz, whenever he plays Angelus, because Angelus also shows up in Angel season 4. My God, I really love it because it's almost like him letting loose. That moment, because you think it's Angel, and then it's oh no, this isn't Angel anymore. It's very well done. But also, I think before I go more into the Angelus stuff, Spike's introduction, and it's crazy because Spike, it's been well documented that he was gonna be a one-off villain. He was gonna be a one-off villain that was gonna eventually get killed by Buffy and then never be seen again. But James Masters played it so fucking good that it's like, okay, we can't get rid of him. And him and Drusilla's chemistry was so good. I love Drusilla, how batshit she was. Like that scene where they kidnap Angel. This was when he was still Angel. And just torture him, and then how like she's fucking ready to do she plays the character so like it's like you almost like it, but she's fucking batshit at the same time. And the dynamic between the Scoobies was full on established by this point. I thought the chemistry was there. The times they're together, and this was also Cordelia getting more involved because at this point, this is where her and Xander started dating. And I didn't really talk a lot about Cordelia last season, but I didn't really care for her in season 1. I think they overdid it with her as the mean girl, so it was kind of cool to see where her character goes, and obviously where her character goes by Angel, and I'll be talking about that then. But the Scooby's dynamic, it's really good. And then now back to Angelus, who David Boreanaz did such a good job, man. Those scenes where he would torment Buffy, and not just Buffy, but like even the Scoobies. He would just torment them all, like fuck with them. Like it just shows how he was more evil than Spike. Because then there was a moment where Spike gets injured and he has to be in a wheelchair. He even Spike was clearly starting to get jealous because Drusilla was starting to kind of fall for Angelus, and yeah, it was just very well done, and it showed you. Well, too, because especially by towards the end when Spike helps Buffy, even when he actually says that, you know what, I don't want to destroy the world. That was never my thing. He likes having he pretty much in kind of fucked up way of saying it, because he was basically saying I love eating people and all that, but he actually likes essentially having the world around and not take it over or destroy it. So, besides that showed the difference between Angelus and Spike already. And it was also well built up because Spike had gotten fucking irritated with Angelus over time. And then there was a point where it was clearly Spike faked being in a wheelchair. It was all very well done season. And then just that build up to where Jenny Calendar, who was Giles' girlfriend you saw throughout that season, who was a great character, the way they built her up, and then that, even though her and Giles broke up for a minute, then that same episode, they were clearly going to set them getting back together, and then Jenny she was going to do something to try to get Angel's soul back. Then Angelus shows up, destroys that, and basically that iconic scene where that chase was very well done, especially just as a horror fan. I always love a good chase. And then that iconic moment where she runs back into him. She thinks she got away. and then she runs right into him. Like that's classic horror stuff. When you run, you think you got away from the killer, and then the killer's right there, and yeah, and then he kills her. I remember being shocked because me watching this was me watching it again, even though I had watched it 10 years ago. I didn't really remember, so it was almost me watching it again for the first time. And yeah, that scene is so well done. And then when Giles finds her body, because Angelus basically sets it up for him to find her. Oh my god, such a well done scene and good acting from Giles. Really good acting, good performance. All around us, I think the performances in these show is really underrated, especially towards the later seasons. And yeah, then Angelus kidnaps Giles and tortures him in the last episode. And then yeah, the finale of season 2 is very well done. Where this is where basically we get a real strong look at sorry, I forgot for a second. Willow had her powers with magic, because this is when she started really getting into magic this season. And yeah, and she basically restores Angel's soul, and that was such a well done scene. Because yeah, while this was going on, Buffy and Angelus were fighting, and then that moment he becomes Angel again, and you're not sure for a second, is it him? And then it is, and then they kiss, but she ends up still having to kill him and sending him away. And that was the end of season 2. Just overall, season 2 is like if I had to rate it with like a number system, 1 would probably be like an 8. I would give it like a solid 7 out of 10. 2 is like I'm gonna say a 10. Fuck it, 10 out of 10. Season 2 was so good. Just the dynamic overall, not just the Jenny Calendar moment, but just overall that whole season. And Jealous as a villain. He's my favorite Buffyverse villain. That'll probably be a video down the line somewhere. Maybe I rank Buffy villains or something. And yeah, Angelus is my number 1. So that's my opinion on Buffy season 2. So now to season 3. I think season 3 was also really good. I think it's such a good follow-up to season 2. It flows perfectly right into it. That first episode, Buffy's on her own living in LA because she ran away from Sunnydale, because towards the end, she told her mom, Joyce, that she was a Slayer, and her mom didn't initially accept it. And that was a good episode. It was an isolated one. Yeah, the Scoobies were kind of in it, but they weren't really, because it was mainly about Buffy doing her own thing, and then she comes back. But it was still a decent episode, and then, yeah, she comes back, and the Scoobies are trained now. Not well trained, but they're, doing their own vampire hunting. Willow is now in a serious relationship with Oz, Seth Green, who I thought was a solid addition to the show and to the group. Like, the moment he was added, he felt like he fit right in. He was added pretty much season 2, but it was really this season when their relationship really gets big. But that episode where her and Willow and her mom argue is a very well done argument. Because you and this show is well done too, where you understand all sides. Because yeah, Buffy, had to come with grips with killing her love of her life, and her mom, you understand, because it's like you ran away for fucking months, Nope, I can understand a parent's perspective and her friend Willow's perspective. You're supposed to be my friend. You ran out for months, not a call, nothing. But it's like you understand all sides. So all around well done season. I love the stuff with Angel, where it's almost like him having to cope with what happened with Angelus and all that. And it's also a good setup for, the Angel show, that of him, kind of leaving. So, and then the way they bring in Faith, Eliza Dushku was such a perfect addition, because it's perfect. They instantly all love her. Her dynamic with Buffy I thought was great initially. It's the almost dynamic duo aspect, two Slayers teaming up. And this is where Wesley comes in, and more on him later, because I've been saying this. I think he's my favorite character, because obviously where he starts off in this season compared to where he ends up in Angel is crazy. So, but Yeah, so like yeah, Wesley initially he's this like posh, by the book watcher. You know, compared to Giles at this point, he's a little bit more relaxed and lets Buffy do her thing at by this point. So and yeah, that I also felt like a lot of the there was a lot of good moments. You know, Xander, he's a cool character, but he can be a fucking asshole sometimes. Like that episode, like you understand his anger a little bit when he saw Buffy kiss Angel, and then you know they him and the Scoobies have all like kind of try to do an intervention on Buffy, and and you understand his rage, but it's also like he's not that guy anymore. You know, he's back to normal, and so but it's all well done. And the mayor, he's probably like my second or third favorite villain. I really love him, and I love him in the show. He's such a good antagonist, just because he's just you just see him as this guy, and then obviously you see his real form later, but just plays it so charismatically. And every scene he's in, he's one of those actors that like he chews up the scenery that he's in. I love actors like that. So, and then I loved his little chemistry with Faith. Because obviously, what ends up happening with Faith, she ends up killing a person who she thought was a vampire, but she ends up actually killing a human. And then she pretty much slowly did not care and starts like kind of showing her faults. And I think that's also what's well made about this show. That's why I was happy. Just a little sidebar. I am happy that whole Buffy reboot. They're putting it on pause, but I think that's just a loose way of saying they're scrapping it because it wouldn't have been the same show. You wouldn't have had the same chemistry, and just the way Hollywood is written now. Buffy would have been a Mary Sue. She would have been a likable Mary Sue. After what, just look at what they're doing with. I'm not going to call it Lord of the Rings, but that Rings of Power show, Rings of Power, but I call it Rings of Power. That show, or what they're doing with She-Hulk or Ray. You know, even just add that as an example. She would have been like a Mary Sue like that. That's the difference between like that and the show I'm talking about now, Buffy. But not just Buffy, but like pretty much all the women have like their faults. You know, they're not all perfect. Even Willow, you know, she makes a mistake with her magic, and her magic could go haywire. I mean, there's a lot of episodes like that. You know, it's not just done just to like um just to show women powerful. They actually like show like Faith, like it's a perfect example of that. They showed her faults, and then even succumbing to I don't want to use Star Wars terms, but yeah, the dark side. I'll just use it just in this instance. You know, the mayor convinces her to join him, and their little chemistry together. Every scene, I did love it. And I was even at a point like I kind of want them to keep her as a bad guy. I really am enjoying her as a bad guy. And you know, season 3 was overall a really well done season because that was the season where, unfortunately, yeah, Angel, after having that conversation with Joyce, which is a really good scene, he pretty much announces he's gonna leave after graduation to Buffy, and that was an emotional scene. And Sarah Michelle Gellar is a very underrated actress, I gotta say, especially a lot of moments in this series. You know, she shows her acting chops. So, and Spite this season is going through an arc because Drusilla's gone now, and it's almost like he doesn't know what to do with himself now. His girlfriend's gone. He's not even really the big bad this season. He has moments where he does villainous stuff, but he's almost like he's almost like in limbo because yeah, his woman's gone. It's really like season 4 and 5 where they really like start kind of doing more with Spike, which is perfect. But just all around, great chemistry. I think season 3 is my second favorite season. Not think it is. It's my second favorite season. A lot of good. The graduation finale is great, even though the snake does not look good. But I can get over it. Like, like the cheesy CGI and shit. Like that's fine. Like I could get over that. But yeah, Buffy ends up defeating the mayor, and Angel leaves the show to set up for a series, which I will be talking about next week. Which I guess I'll really quick. I had never seen Angel, like ever. I had known it was on, but I had never watched it. Even when I was watching Buffy with my ex, she for whatever reason we didn't watch Angel. I don't know why, but I ended up watching it also for the first time, and it is fucking great. So I can't wait to talk about that. But overall, season 3, I would probably give like a 9.5. To now on to season 4. Season 4 was a bit of a change up. Now it's a college setting. Oz was kind of getting phased out of the show by this point because in reality, Seth Green wanted to do more movies, so he stopped being part of the show, which kind of sucked because I actually really did like Oz and I loved his dynamic with Willow, but it was fun. And him being a werewolf was cool. Like, I should have talked about that a bit more. Like, yeah, Oz is a werewolf, and it was crazy, like, how just, like, they were able to intertwine all these, like, fantasy creatures in the show very well. Like, yeah, some of the effects aren't great, like, especially towards the earlier seasons, but it works. So, but season 4, that's where they introduced the initiative. Buffy started dating Riley because she was contemplating dating now that Angel is gone. And Cordelia's also gone too at this point. And so, but we are introduced Tara, Riley this season, who I actually really do like Riley. I know a lot of, I've looked at some Buffy forums and like videos and stuff to see like what are the thoughts of Riley. A lot of people don't like him, or it's kind of mixed. I think he's fine. I think he works for the season. It's like Buffy's first chance, like he's a normal dude, minus, being a trained soldier. But, like, he's essentially still a normal dude. He's not like a vampire, right? And this is where Spike, I also really like, started really being more involved in the show. And that chick vampire who had her own little gang in the beginning, I would have liked her if actually had been more of an antagonist. It's unfortunate. It's fine, but they kind of it was to show that Buffy still can kick ass because that vampire kicked her ass in the first episode. It's another example. She wasn't a married, so she got her ass kicked at times, but she showed she still got it. I understand that's what they wanted to show, but it would have been cool to see her like as a reoccurring villain. But yeah, the initiative was cool. This secret organization hunting creatures. They end up getting Spike and planting a chip in his head, which basically like hinders him from biting and being able to like drain blood. But Riley's boss, who's actually also a teacher or professor in college, turns out was actually creating this secret project called Adam, I think was an okay villain. He's kind of middle. I think the problem is the design is a bit over the top. Like, he's this amalgamation of monsters. But it was kind of cool because he was like he wasn't like this one-off villain that could just get easily defeated. He fucking like when they first like really showed him in like Buffy, even Spike, they all tried to come out and they fucking all got fucked up, It was cool to see like that you have like a strong villain. I'm a big proponent of having a villain be shown strong because I think too many, especially nowadays, have a weak villain. So Adam, in that sense, was done well. It's just he looks a little cheesy with some of the effects, and I think the problem is he was brought in a little too late, so he wasn't like the villain from the beginning. Whereas like Angelus or the Master from season 1 or the Mayor, they were all introduced early on. And this is our fucking antagonist this season. He doesn't really come in until a little later, so. But overall, really good season. The college was an okay setting. It's not, I'll admit, it's not as good as the school, but I still think why I really like season 4. I know a lot of people don't. I've seen this one is ranked as like middle or a little bit lower. But I overall like season 4 because the Scooby's like chemistry is just like straight up perfect this season. Like it's like to me of the seasons, probably their peak chemistry was this season. They all clicked. Rufus, Giles, Xander, Willow, um, Oz for the couple episodes he was around this season, um, or the one episode, or Tara even. The way they're able to weave in new characters. I got to give Joss credit. He always is able in this show. He's able to weave in new characters in each season, and the way they're did it with Oz last season in season 2 and 3, but then this season weaving in Tara, and it's almost like she had been there the entire time. It was perfect. I think my main problem with season 4, and it's really not necessarily the season itself. It's more of the structure. They structured the last 2 episodes weird. Because the true finale, in my view, was when they all invaded the initiative base and they're all fighting these monsters, and even Spike shows up in the end to help them, and they all to confront Adam. That was the true finale, but that wasn't the finale. It was like in chronological order. It was like the second to last episode, and then the last episode was this episode where we were introduced to where Buffy's in like this dream world where she sees the first Slayer. It was, and the episode itself wasn't bad or anything. It was just that almost is like a first episode or a first few episodes. It was weird structurally what they did it that way. That's the only thing. But aside from that, season 4 is a good season. Perfect dynamic with the Scoobies. The initiative was interesting. Was an interesting idea as an antagonist. Adam was good, even though his design is a bit cheesy. Spike's development and the moment where he decides to actually show he is a good guy. Well, not a good guy, but he is willing to help is great.